Hey everyone, this is Daniel for Rock the JVM, and you are watching Tools for Scala Startups, a conference talk that I held at ScalaIO in Paris last week, where I talked about tools and techniques for you to build your full-stack Scala products that can potentially make you a gazillionaire. Now, ScalaIO in particular was an amazing conference. We had very nice conversations, great in-depth talks, and also practical workshops. And I also had a full-day workshop where I helped the audience build their full-stack Scala products. A lot of code was written, selfies were taken, checkout flows were completed, and every single person in the audience was able to build their own Scala product where they can charge people money. So by the end of this video, you will know the right tools to use within the Scala ecosystem to do the same. Now, this video is called Tools for Scala Startups, and the conference talk is called the same. And a startup is a pretty loaded term. So why would you want a startup? Because startups mean different things to different people. Here are some reasons why startups make sense, at least to me. A startup can be a viral product that can be launched very quickly to millions or billions of people. You can create a lifestyle business as a solo developer or as a small team to make it relatively quiet, or you can build a scalable rocket ship that can serve millions of or billions of users in complex ways. Now, fortunately, Scala is a powerful language that allows you to do any of these things, or even all of these things throughout the journey of a single product. So you can start very small and you can scale up to billions of users if you so wish. Now, the question is, why would you want a Scala startup given that there are so many frameworks out there? There are frameworks for UI, for backend, for frontend, for servers, for infrastructures, for pretty much everything. And you have some of the more popular here on screen. There are hundreds of frameworks in various languages, including Java, Python, TypeScript, JavaScript, and pretty much everything else under the sun. Now, I would argue that Scala is such a powerful and underrated language that it can serve pretty much all your needs. And let me tell you why. I have enough experience with Scala to be able to tell you that it's a truly scalable language. And by scalable, I mean that you can start small, even just a one-file script, to be able to build the absolute minimal version of your product such that it's viable and solves a pain point in some sort of audience. But you can expand as necessary and stay in the Scala ecosystem throughout the entire journey of your product. Scala is also a beautiful language, as I'm sure that all of you here on the Rock the JVM channel have attested on your own experience. It's concise, it's expressive, and its type safely is unparalleled on the JVM. And speaking of the JVM, Scala is very powerful and multi-platform. It supports both the JVM on the backend and JavaScript for the front end. So you can write full-stack Scala products on the Scala ecosystem without leaving Scala at all. And you can interop with existing libraries and tools and technologies in the JVM and the JavaScript ecosystems. But the most important thing is that Scala has proven itself in production in systems big and small, from huge things like X and Databricks and big payment systems and Disney streaming to simple products that I'm building on my own as a software engineer. Scala has proven itself to be a truly scalable language. So can Scala do it in terms of Scala startups is a resounding yes. And I'm going to show you some tools and principles for how you can approach your own Scala startup with some core principles and a list of tools. So what does a good tech stack mean? Well, the most important thing for me as a developer is that a framework, a library, or a tech stack to be easy to learn. I should ideally be up and running with that particular tech stack or framework in no less than 2 hours, which Scala passes with flying colors if you are learning Scala as an established developer. So my own Scala at light speed 2-hour mini course is able to get you up and running with Scala. The next thing is performance. Obviously, I don't want the product that I'm running to crash on my third user. So the library or tech stack in question has to be performant. It has to be scalable in the sense that it can support products and loads big and small. It should be easy to deploy. So ideally, I should hit a shortcut like Command-Shift-Alt-R or something like that, like run in production. So I should be able to deploy very, very easily with very minimal intervention on my part in terms of infrastructure. And very importantly, it should allow me to write code quickly and deploy my products very quickly. Not least code safety, but now Scala is already very good at that with its incredible type system. So safety in prevention of bugs, that is also going to be super important. Community support so that I can have somebody to ask questions to and somebody to talk to or somebody to give feedback to if the library or tech stack in question doesn't fully satisfy the requirements of the products that I want to build. Also compatibility with other tools in order for me to interact with other systems. And ecosystem maturity, this is also something that's often overlooked in programming libraries because the ecosystem will also dictate the kind of trust that the community will have in your tech stack or framework or suite of libraries. Now, like I said earlier, a startup means different things to different people. So if you are a solo developer, you can pick the tech stack that you know and you can make up your own best practice so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot while you're developing your own product. If you're a small team, no need to follow the big blobs of clean code or whatever the current best practice is in technical Bibles, but you can make up your own best practice within your team by negotiating and reaching a common ground and filling each other's gaps because nobody's going to have spikes all across the board because a product means so many different things if you want to ship something that's profitable. Now, if you're eyeing for a rocket ship that can serve billions of people, it's time to start creating a protocol for everybody to adhere to. Now, in what follows, I'm going to show you some things that work for me. And I'm pretty sure that there are some useful tools that would make my life better that I don't know about. If that is the case, let me know in the comments. And I'm probably going to talk about them in other videos here on Rock the JVM after I've tried them myself. So first, the most important thing that I want you to take from this video is that Scala is an underrated language for full stack products. Why do I say that? So Scala can easily be a multi-platform language because it targets both the JVM and JavaScript. So you can stay within Scala for full stack products. And there are tools to convert web applications to mobile applications natively and so on and so forth. So you can essentially stay in Scala for pretty much everything you want to build. And it's uniquely suited for Frontend, surprisingly, because of its expressiveness. And there are simple libraries in Scala.js that can get you very, very far, as I'm going to show you. So with that said, I'm going to start discussing some backend tools and then talk to you about some front-end tools that you can use within your Scala products. First, the first stack that I'm going to talk about is Akka. It's one of the oldest ones, and it has since moved to a business license, so Akka is not open source anymore, but there is a fork of Akka 2.6 called Apache Peko, which is a top-level Apache project, so you can have similar guarantees as the old Akka library. So Akka is based on the actor model and has been battle-tested in giant systems. So it's probably one of the best track records in the Scala ecosystem in terms of tech stack reliability. It has a rich ecosystems of libraries for backend, including streams and actors and persistence and different forms of interop with other services like Kafka or Cassandra or other systems. Now, the combination that works for me is to design web services with Akka/Peko HTTP, data flows with Akka/Peko streams, and to do your business logic with actors. So actors are, this is the first time you're hearing about this, actors are these independent data structures that can only be triggered by sending asynchronous messages to. And this leads to a very different mindset with regards to how you split up your application in between different components that asynchronously talk to each other rather than calling each other's methods. Now, for storage and scalability, you can use Peko persistence and CQRS, which is the command query responsibility segregation. This is a very important technique for implementing event-based systems. And I have a long-form video here on the Rock the JVM channel with a realistic project with Akka persistence, so Akka event sourcing and Cassandra. So I simulated a little bank with Akka and Cassandra. We have scalability for Peko clustering. So if one of the core modules of your business logic is too big to fit on a single machine, you can distribute that. And there's some incredible tools and nice protocols in there that will allow you to create distributed services. And for microservices, to talk to each other, you can use gRPC, and Peko supports gRPC with protocol buffers. Now, this tech stack works best with products or systems based on events. So gaming systems or payment systems or authentication infrastructure, all of these are really suitable for Akka or Apache Peko. You also get scalability by multiplying instances of the same services if one of the services cannot cope with the amount of load that it gets in production. Now, I teach all of this stuff here at Rock the JVM. I have an entire series of Akka or Apache Peko, including HTTP, streams, actors, and the classical version of persistence and clustering. So you can learn about this on Rock the JVM if you're interested. The next tech stack is Zio. So Zio is a more modern and recent effect system with pure functional programming. And this has also been proven in production at various systems. And the combination of the libraries that you can use in the Zio ecosystem is to use Zio HTTP and Zio JSON. And also Caliban is a great library for using GraphQL, so exposing GraphQL APIs over Zio. You can use data flows with Zio streams, and you can implement your business logic with Zio core effects. Now, if you don't know what Zio is or how Zio works, I have a video here on the Rock the JVM channel or an entire course at Rock the JVM which discusses this in detail. So Zios are essentially some data structures that describe how computations are being performed, what they can error with, and what kind of values they produce. You can combine them with functional programming primitives, and you can describe your entire program as a giant value that you can evaluate once at the end of the world, and that program can mean anything at all. And through these combinations, you can essentially build pretty much everything you want. For storage, we have some libraries. Quill is a battle-tested one. Magnum is a recent one. And ZioSQL is also one in the Zio ecosystem. Now, for pretty much everything else, especially interop, there is probably a small library in the Zio ecosystem that does the job. Now, to be fair, not all of those libraries have the same maturity as the Zio core, and some of those risk deprecation in the future. But it's also quite easy to build your own interop system if you're interested in creating your own custom logic. So Zio works best for pragmatic products built with pure functional programming. So if you have robust backend systems that you want to ship very quickly without getting bogged down into many details about the type system, Zio is great for that. And it's also great for bringing other JVM code into a common language of effects because you can describe pretty much everything else and wrap other Java libraries, for example, into Zio effects and compose them as values as you did in the rest of your program. So Zio is a great tech stack for that. I teach 2 courses here at Rock the JVM, one for the Zio core library and one giant one called the Zio Rite of Passage, which teaches you how to build your own full stack product with the Zio stack if you're interested. Now, the next tech stack is TypeLevel, which is an effects system and a suite of libraries for pure functional programming, which have been proven in big systems in production, including Disney Streaming and SiriusXM. These are 2 well-known companies that use Scala to the fullest. So the combination of libraries that you can use with the TypeLevel stack include HTTP4S, which has been battle-tested over and over and over again. I'm still wondering why this library still is at 0.37 for so many years, but that's a decision of the maintainers. Then you have Circe for JSON manipulation, data flows with FS2, which is super elegant library to use. Then you have business logic with Cat's Effect, which is a powerful effect system, very similar to Zio, but with other kinds of assumptions and type system guarantees. Also Monix, which is built on similar principles. Then we have various libraries for interacting with different storage systems. Doobie and Skunk are 2 very well-known ones. So Doobie for SQL and Skunk specifically for Postgres, but there are libraries to interact with Cassandra and with other storage systems. And for pretty much everything else, Cat's Effect gives you some tools to purify other libraries, including JVM libraries, and also on the JavaScript land. So TypeLevel has strong support for Scala.js as well, so you can have, or you can bring the same principles to the front end. Now, the TypeLevel ecosystem has a slightly steeper learning curve. There are many more concepts to learn, and you have to be really careful about the tools that you're using. But if you know your stuff, and if you're well-trained, and if you're in a team of senior engineers, you can build a lot with very few engineers. And I mean a lot. And by this, I mean that you can scale up your product to millions or tens of millions of users with just a few or handful of engineers. This also works great for keeping the code sane and very pure and making the best use out of the Scala type system while the products become increasingly complex so that you can keep yourself out of trouble as your products grow organically. Now, the next tool that I'm going to talk about is something that I didn't originally plan for the ScalaIO conference, but I added the slide during the conference itself because it looks so promising. And this is Kio. So Kio is a new effects system and direct style toolkit for Scala 3. And it's really promising because it's really expressive and it's really powerful. I haven't tried Kio yet, so I would only recommend it for experimental project. I'm probably going to try it myself on some things that I have in mind for my own tools. So Kio is a combination of libraries that will allow you to describe your effects just by adding new types to your existing variable definitions. So if that sounds a little vague, I recommend you go to the Kio documentation. I'm going to link in the description. So in terms of a product, the web services, you can describe them with Kio Tapir or Kio Caliban. These are some interop libraries that will help you tie into some already great API definition libraries. You can describe your business logic with Kio Core. And for pretty much everything else, Kio can integrate very easily with Zio, so you can piggyback on the Zio ecosystem if you want to implement any sort of functionality. So Kio is a growing tool. Watch out for more content on Kio in the Scala ecosystem and also potentially on Rock the JVM as well. I intend to cover this in a future video. Now, we also have something that's very old, very battle-tested, and has slightly faded away from people's attention, but still works very well, and that is the Play framework. So Play framework is the only true framework for Scala because it comes with batteries included, so pretty much everything that you need to know to build products, and has been proven over more than a decade in many big systems. From HMRC to chess platforms hosting millions of concurrent players, Play framework is a really great Scala tool for building products. The nicest thing about Play is that once you learn the basic principles, you never really have to stray outside the Play framework itself. If you want, you can add Akka or Apache Peko for streams or actors, but it's really not necessary because Play gives you pretty much everything you need. So you can write your logic in pure Scala. Additionally, for storage, you can integrate Play with Slick, which is also a battle-tested Scala library for data storage and type-safe relational mapping to the Scala code. So Play plus Slick is pretty much a winning strategy for products based on the Play framework. Now, Play works best for those protocols that I was talking about. So if you are a team that is looking for a common standard or best practice or protocol for everybody to follow, Play makes that negotiation very easy rather than arguing over every nit or every pattern within every library in the TypeLevel stack or the Zio stack or the Kio stack or other stacks. Play makes it really easy because there's just really one standard to use, so that if everybody uses Play, they're pretty much going to follow the same rules. So Play makes it real easy to standardize existing products and make them scalable as they go. Now, after Play framework, we have the Lehi Stack. So Howie is a great Scala engineer, is one of the people in the Scala ecosystem that I respect the most because he single-handedly built an entire stack of libraries that make Scala really easy to learn and use. If you remember one of my first principles for what makes a good tech stack, Howie's tech stack is the easiest to use from all the tech stacks that I've listed so far. So it's just Scala without any sort of fancy things. It's easy to learn and get started with. In just 2 hours, you can hit the ground running and build something useful. Now, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. Howie used his libraries to build his book, Hands-on Scala Programming, as well as the website that he used to publish his book, which is one of the other reasons why I appreciate his work. And that's because his work is guided by his own skin in the game. So he built these libraries out of necessity to build something useful and ship code fast and be really productive. So the combination of libraries that you should use in the Lehi stack is to use Cask and Scala tags. So Cask is an HTTP server. Scala tags is for server-side rendering. uPickle for serialization. For business logic, Howie is always advising against using more fancy stuff because pure Scala is enough, and the Scala type system is powerful enough. So Scala should suffice. For storage, he has this library called ScalaSQL, and his mill build system is in full swing. At the moment of this recording, mill is growing to be a complex build system for JVM projects and front-end projects. I think he still has open bounties on mill if you want to check them out. So the tools in the Lehi ecosystem are best for solo developers or small teams that can ship code very quickly. So shipping code quickly is the mantra for this little stack. Now, I've talked about backend stacks. What about frontend? So Scala can compile to JavaScript, and Scala.js is actually very underrated. It's super stable. It has a policy of 0 known bugs. So when somebody submits a bug, it's crushed in day one. And Scala offers full JavaScript interoperability, so you can add any JavaScript library in your Scala.js application. And you can also have TypeScript interoperability via Scalably Typed. So Scalably Typed is an SBT plugin that will parse out the TypeScript definitions and generate Scala code to be able to interact with the TypeScript libraries. So essentially, you have access to the entire TypeScript ecosystem on Scala.js. And 2 libraries I've used in Scala.js that worked really great for me, especially for my big courses called the TypeLevel Rite of Passage and Zio Rite of Passage. One is called Tyrion, and this was written in Scala 3 based on Cat's effect in Scala.js. This is inspired by the Elm architecture, and it offers pure functional programming. And through the decoupled state management, it's easy to make sense of your own page sections and components in your application, and it works best with the TypeLevel stack. I teach this in my giant course called the TypeLevel Rite of Passage. The other one is Laminar. It's super expressive, functional reactive programming library for the UI. This is super great because it allows you to perform automatic UI updates based on simple definitions for data binding. And data binding is reactive in the sense that you don't have to write any other logic for updating your UI elements automatically depending on their state. And this works with any backend stack. In fact, for the Zio Rite of Passage, I actually used Laminar, even though Laminar and Zio are based on completely different principles. So Laminar can work well with any backend stack. And because Scala.js can interop with JavaScript, you can add pretty much everything in the JS ecosystem, including jQuery or HTMS. I have a video here on Rock the JVM with HTMS, or even React. And even though we don't have JSX, Scala itself is far more expressive than JSX, so you can very easily integrate React into your UI application, which is something surprising and makes Scala potentially underrated for front-facing applications. Now, we talked about backend, we talked about frontend. What about everything else? Build tools and build systems and dev tools and DevOps are super important, but as a solo developer, I should really care about them. Fortunately, SBT is powerful enough, and mill is also powerful enough to be able to cross-compile Scala between the frontend and backend, which makes Scala a very powerful full-stack language. And to that end, some definition libraries will make a really great addition to your product, including Tapir and Smithy 4S for endpoint definitions, Squance, Monocle, Spire, and Chimney, each for its own focus on data type definition. And build systems. Build systems are super important. SBT and mill are the 2 most used in the Scala ecosystem. And then we have Bazel and Maven. These are less used, but they are used in very specific corporate environments. For development, I use Metals most of the time, and also use IntelliJ. IntelliJ has increasing support for Scala 3, although it's a little bit behind the Scala 2 support, which is why I use mostly Metals these days. Then we have various forms of DevOps. We have various cloud providers, various cloud wrappers, various serverless functions, various deployment and Dockerization and packaging. These are things that I shouldn't really care about when I'm building my product. So ideally, in the Scala ecosystem, we would have some tools to be able to deploy applications quickly. So far, we'd have to manage these relatively manually, but we'll get better. And I'm also going to try to help by making these more accessible, easy to learn, and easy to use with the videos that I'll make at Rock the JVM. Now, a very important caveat. There are probably things that I've missed. There are probably tech stacks that I haven't considered. There are probably libraries that I haven't heard about. Please let me know in the comments. I would be very curious to learn about it. Now, speaking about the tools, and about libraries and tech stacks that we can use to build Scala products, only one was a framework in the true sense of the word. The rest were essentially tech stacks built out of libraries that work well together. So a question, where are the Scala frameworks? This is a question that I'll answer in another presentation. Now, whether you like it or not, a product is not just about the code that it's being built with. So you need to integrate with other services or build your own. So common services to integrate for a software product, modern software product, include analytics or monitoring and alerting so that if something crashes, you can respond swiftly. Payment systems to be able to actually make a living out of your product. Emails for users. AI for content if your product needs it. Community for your audience. Customer support, super important. These are overlooked in one way or another if you are focusing on just the code. Now, this is a problem that's not a Scala-specific library. So if you're building a product in Clojure or in JavaScript or in Java or in C++, the same issue applies. So be very careful to integrate many different services in your application so that you deliver the appropriate value to your audience and your customers. Now, what about the people that are writing the code? What about the dev cycle? We want to make the dev cycle cool, fast, fun, and satisfying. So we want fast iteration, we want clear errors so that we can recover from them, we want easy deployment, and we want easy integration and easy deployment so that our software can reach our audience very quickly. So being a developer is not something that you do only once, it's something that you do repeatedly, and because you do it repeatedly, you are essentially building a habit. And because we're talking about building habits and we're talking about how to make tools to make the dev life easy, I will rely on one of the books that I like the most, which is Atomic Habits. I'm pretty sure you've heard about it. And in order to build a good habit or break a bad one, you need to take care of these 4 principles. If you want to build a good habit, you need to make it obvious, so that it's in your face. You need to make it attractive so that you can envision a nice satisfaction. You need to make it easy so that you can actually perform the activity that you want with minimal mental effort, and you need to make it satisfying so that the loop can repeat itself. So in terms of tooling for Scala startups, how can this help? Well, in terms of make it obvious, a tech stack will allow you to make your objective obvious. So it should be really clear what the objective is, and you should know what you have to do and how. What does that mean? Well, a Scala tool or a tool for a Scala startup should give you enough guardrails so that you can only focus on your objective so that you know what you have to do and where you have to write your code. You shouldn't care about technicalities, you shouldn't care about underlying mechanisms, only when you need to dig deeper and when you need to fix performance improvements or whenever you need something really customized. But otherwise, a tool for a Scala startup should allow you to focus just on what you want to write. In terms of make it attractive, a tool for a Scala startup should make it very enticing, should make it seem very fun to be able to write your code and seeing it deployed instantly in production. This is a nice vision that entices most developers, including myself. So if I just focus on my Scala code and I hit a little keyboard shortcut and instantly it's in production, I like it. So if a tool in the Scala ecosystem can promise me that, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to use it. In terms of make it easy, local iteration should be instant. This is the realm of very fast iteration speed. So I really expect compilation speed to be very quick. I should expect my modifications to be instant. I should expect the feedback loop to be very tight. And deployment should take 0 mental space. This is something that I haven't stressed enough, and I'm probably going to stress more over the coming videos. And in terms of make it satisfying, Scala already does most of the work because it's such an expressive language. And in terms of make it satisfying, we should also get some new Scala tools that allow us to deploy code quickly and see the results of our work with no delay. So Scala is such an amazing language, and it deserves more recognition, more attention, more developers, and also new tools and new products. And I'm also going to try to play my part in that. So you're going to be hearing more from me in the Scala ecosystem. I hope you like this presentation. If you want, I have stickers next time if we're meeting in person at the next Scala conference. In the meantime, folks, this was Daniel for Rock the JVM. If you like this video, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and check out my work at rockthejvm.com, where I have pretty much everything in the Scala ecosystem if you're interested, and stickers at the next conference.